Solvitur Ambulando, The Adventures of Steve and Dixie by Stephen Breakstone. Snippets from my journal. Episode 26, Month 7, December 1986. Copyright 2025. December 1st, 1986, Monday, Dodge City, Kansas. Snow. 2 inches overnight. I let Dixie out the door this morning, as usual. She took 2 steps, stopped dead in her tracks, and looked back at me as if to say, "What the hell is all this?" Before I could answer, my New Orleans native burst out into a gallop in her new toy. I made snowballs and she made nose canals with her snout. It was her first snow ever, and the first for me in almost 2 years. So much fun. That's a long time. It even feels like New York. It's cold, windy, and slushy. Real radio. KDCK saw the light and changed back to real people, real DJs and real programming, good music and interesting personalities. Some technology cannot replace real people. December 11th, 1986, Thursday. The Draft Choice Bar has opened. It's a nice place, brand spanking new and classy looking, and I have been working. But something is going on there. There are 3 owners, 2 guys and a girl, and none of them can seem to give me any idea of how many hours I will work or what days I will be working. They tell me one day at a time. So I work when I can. There are things I like working at the bar and some behaviors that are, well, let's say new to me. It's not like it's my first bar job. Side note, the owners were 2 men and a woman in their late 20s or early 30s. I am omitting their names. My bosses seem to get bombed every night. For that matter, the customers, who are friendly and treat me well, seem to overdrink too. So much so that about half a dozen pass out on the bar counter each night. And my bosses still tell me to fill their glasses as they're on their way to passing out. I don't feel like I fit in. Maybe something is wrong with me. What can I say? I don't spend $20 to $30 every night on alcohol. I mean, I like to drink, and I certainly have done my share, especially during the first couple of years of college, but I was never a go to a bar and hang out and shoot the shit type of guy, or a drink until you pass out type of guy either. I prefer bars with music and dancing. I've been thinking that I enjoy the customers, and it's an easy, low-stress, enjoyable job, so I like that part of it. But I'm not feeling the love from the owners. I really don't know why. But it's a job, and I am making decent money. I get good tips. It's an interesting experience here in small-town America, especially after the interesting experience of a farm in smaller town America. Still, my uncertainty of how much the owners like me has me think of having another job up my sleeve. I filled out a couple of job applications. I always like to be prepared. Side note, $20 to $30 can be only 2 or 3 drinks these days, but in a bar in Dodge City, Kansas in 1986, that could be 5 to 15 drinks. Later. A Long Branch Christmas. The Boot Hill Museum Repertory Company. More Happy Days World. It was a sellout show, fun for the whole family, and the show ended with the audience singing Christmas carols and a buffet afterwards. They didn't do this back home in Spring Valley, certainly not in my neighborhood. What an interesting experience. Just everyone, so many of the townsfolk, having fun. Living here in Dodge, there was no question whether I wanted to go or not. Traveling stimulates the desire to go out and see and do things I've never even thought about. Last Christmas, my Karen and I had just arrived in New Orleans. It was another holiday season, and in the French Quarter of New Orleans, it was just another excuse for everyone to party hardy, with friends and strangers from all over the world. In Dodge City, Kansas, Christmas is intimate within the community. I'm not ready to convert to Christianity, but I do feel the specialness of the season here in an 18,000 person town in the middle of the USA. For all I know, I may be the only Jewish person in town. December 12th, 1986, Friday. The other day I walked over to the Dodge City Country Club and filled out an application. They called earlier and wanted me to start tonight. So I did. My first impression was very good. Nice people, nice place, good service, good food. The people are pretty laid back, and the prices are pretty inexpensive considering it's a country club. I am taking this job part time because at the draft choice, there are people to meet, and I enjoy the fun part of it. Sometimes it feels more like a night out than a job. I have fun to some extent, and I get paid. For all its uncertainties, there is a better chance to meet a girl my age at the bar than at the country club, which is made up of mostly an older crowd and couples and sometimes families.
Side note: the journal entries you're about to hear are thoughts that were going through my mind a few weeks after being back in civilization, including, and perhaps especially, from working at the bar. I consider these journal thoughts, some with editing, to be inarticulate and certainly not fleshed out, nor necessarily all that profound. But they were thoughts that were consistently going through my head, so I decided to journal them. And because it was just a journal, I didn't need to write any more than I wrote because, I knew what I was thinking, at least at the time. And I just wanted to get them out of my head or move on, which is one of the strategies I have for my looping thoughts. I wrote just trying to capture the essence of the thoughts, just for me, not as a thesis paper that was going to be critiqued. And I presciently believe that these thoughts were as much a part of my walking across America experience as the thoughts that went through me when I was actually walking. As I was preparing this video, though, I questioned if I wanted to share these broad thoughts and include it in this series. I decided to do so as they represent the thoughts I was having by living and working back in a arguably average small Midwest town. At this point, I had been on the road for about 15 months, and the previous 6 months specifically were very much on my own and living in my own little world. I left New York to travel and meet the people of the USA, but until living and working in Dodge, I was actually living on the outskirts of society. Now I was back in normal society for the first time since leaving New York. And to be clear, the French Quarter of New Orleans that I spent a few months in is neither normal or average. So I decided, though, that excluding these journal entries would just limit my sharing of my experience of walking across America in the 1980s. So I decided to include them. So here goes.
December 16th, 1986, Tuesday. Between my travels and my work at the bar, I have this new idea about people of the world, humans. I've been thinking about and trying to understand the human animal. We are animals, just another animal on the planet, and we're so aware that we're different from other species, but we have so many similarities. Although I think most humans forget that part of our coexistence. We can build amazing things and reason and express greater intellectual and emotional abilities and be technological, etc., and that separates us. Yet, if I look to a broader sense, we live and exist no differently than those other animals. We eat, sleep, and mate. We work, but that's just our way of providing food and shelter for ourselves and our families, same as most other animals. When I think of it, I find it somewhat humbling and enlightening. We're all different and all the same. It puts things in perspective. I feel there's something to these thoughts, but I'm not sure what. On a related note, I was thinking about when I was cast in the play Julius Caesar as Mark Antony in sixth grade. The characters in the play were made up of senators with the most lines, like me, and the masses, who didn't have names and called things out to move the story along. It made me consider that the world is made up mostly of the masses and just a few senators or individuals with clear-cut individual personalities, like in the play. Lately, I feel like I am seeing the masses, just groups of indistinct people. Am I just one of the masses? Or will I be a senator? On the other hand, even an individual in a mass has a distinctiveness that is important to him or herself. So maybe that's all that matters. Still, I don't like the idea of being just one of the masses. I think it's been my experience at the draft choice bar that has been stirring these thoughts. I'm trying to understand the dozens of people who all get together every night and drink until they collapse or throw up or whatever. I mean, I'm certainly no prude. I've had my share of over drinking, throwing up, and hangovers, but I see the same faces doing it on all the nights I work. I can only think two or three that, I mean, I can only think of 2 or 3 times that I really drank stupidly too much, but it seems like it's the same faces who keep showing up. And yet, on the other hand, everyone seems to all blend together. If I could really see that they were having fun, it wouldn't appear so bad, but what's going on here? I mean, there's no dancing. There's a couple of pool tables and dartboards, but no dancing. I mean, just mostly hanging and drinking and bullshitting. There's music in the background and TVs with sports playing. And there doesn't seem to be an individual in the crowd, though. Maybe that's why I don't feel like I really belong. And the bosses don't make me feel like I belong. And I wonder why they keep me. I wonder why I stay. Later. During the last couple of weeks, as I have met more people, I have often been asked the question, what are you doing in Dodge? It's a fair question, but I wonder why so many people ask me, why Dodge, with such a skeptical, wondrous tone. I think it's a nice town, so why do so many people question my sanity in coming here? Maybe within a few months that same question will not be so strange to me. I guess this is how I will find things out firsthand. Later. I just came back from work at the bar. I had an interesting conversation with one of the other bartenders. The three owners asked him to tell me that there weren't enough hours for everyone, and if there was a need, they would call me first. Yeah, sure. I believe that one. I don't think I really care. I like parts of the job, but that wasn't the place to find a social life like I had hoped. And I wasn't thrilled about serving drunks even more liquor and then knowing that they might be driving home. The Draft Choice Bar isn't anything like Cheers. Side note, that's another TV show reference that takes place in a bar in Boston. December 22nd, 1986, Monday. It looks like I'll be going home, but not until next year. Mike and Karen have officially become engaged and plan on getting married in May of 1988. And guess who best man and best dog are going to be? Dixie and I have begun to run again. I'd like to restart the Walk West in late April 1987, and that gives us 4 months to get back in shape. There are no hotels with 50 stories to climb like in New Orleans, but at least there are hills in southwest Kansas to build up stamina and muscles. New Year's Eve, 1986, Wednesday. The last few years I've been with Mike and Karen on New Year's Eve. Once we just happened to be in Brooklyn, once we were in Vermont, and last year we were in New Orleans. We didn't have to work at having fun, it just happened. Actually, most of the time, fun just happened on regular days, not a holiday or a Friday night with an obligation to have fun. I feel that when the pressure is on to have a good time, it usually doesn't live up to expectation. New Year's parties always have high expectations. But that's no problem this year. I haven't been invited to any parties. On the other hand, I was invited to participate in a new American pastime, at least new for me. Stan, a fellow waiter at the country club, invited me to go driving around with him. I wound up joining him and, dozens of other people between 16 and 21 driving up and down Dodge's one strip, Wyatt Earp Boulevard. Some are drinking beer, some are smoking dope, and everyone is blasting music from their car stereos. And it doesn't have to be good music because, it seems to me that the one who has the loudest stereo wins. I don't know what they win, except maybe some sort of strange pride. Volume was the most important thing. Stan and his girlfriend were in the front seat, and I was in the back with his main speakers. Luckily for me and my future hearing, Stan didn't win the contest. Still, I can't say I had fun. I was just having an experience that took too long to run its course. So, this is my social life? Would I rather have just been home by myself with Dixie watching TV in my apartment? I don't know. I like the idea of having a new experience, and it wasn't horrific, but, some things are just not for me. Maybe I'm just too old for that type of thing. I was 2 to 4 years older than a lot of the other people. It must be so frustrating to be an older teenager, like the ones on the strip and with the cars and the stereos, and have so much energy wanting to explode. It seems like there's just nothing much to do in Dodge for these kids but drink, smoke, and cruise. Stop and bullshit with someone for a bit and then just cruise some more. This reminded me of when I worked at this reminded me of when I worked with some Dominican Republicans in West Hampton, New York in the summer of 1984. My friend, Jose, who didn't speak much English, conveyed to me that there were 11 children in his family. I was amazed. He told me that having so many children wasn't unusual. Why? I asked. Why do people have so many children? Jose put his palms out, expressed a pushing motion, and with a winning smile made larger with his dark skin, said, "In the Dominican Republic, no TV, only push push." he was he was very funny. I still laugh when I think of it and journal it. Unfortunately, the unfunny part is that I've actually seen a similar attitude here in the USA. When there's nothing else to do, kids boink. Perhaps before the age of 13 or 14 or so, kids have to be home early. And when they're in their 20s, they're more independent and they can come and go as they please and might have jobs and other responsibilities. But the kind of middle to later teen years, like 14 to 19, are the hardest, I think. Kids are old enough to go out by themselves, but not old enough to take off or go away to college, or some of them just chose not to go away to college. So, what's there to do, especially in a town like Dodge City? Hang out. There's not much else to do but drink, smoke, cruise, and screw. It's as simple as that. Those are the things to do. Since leaving New York and observing what I observed in many small towns, I'm starting to think that high teenage pregnancy rates should really be no mystery to anyone. I think I just laid out one of the main causes. Now, what's the solution?
Side note, I didn't have a solution at the time, but I was only 23. But some people figured it out. I researched that pregnancy rates in the United States has significantly decreased since the 1980s. Interestingly, though, I also found online at congress.gov that it states, while the decline in teen pregnancy is a positive trend, the United States still has a higher teen birth rate compared to other similar high-income countries. The USA, still a work in progress.
One advantage of having only 3 television stations to choose from is having the opportunity to do more reading. John Jakes quotes Thomas Paine in his book, The Rebels. Paine wrote of times that try men's souls, when our forefathers struggled to be free. That freedom did not come easy or not without lots of risks, hardships, discomforts, and self doubt. The harder the conflict, the more glorious the triumph. I think I too can use these thoughts when I must fight my biggest enemy, Mr. Aloneness, or worse, his comrade, Brother Loneliness. I mean, I've always loved my time alone, but sometimes too much is too much. The last few months, culminating on the farm, allowed those two to sneak in too often. So when I need a reminder of how to fight them off from getting too powerful, I need to look deeper into my mind for the solution and how to deal with them and get back to a comfortable place. Those strategies sometimes seem to be locked away in hiding. But those are the times I need to work hard to find those philosophical, comforting thoughts. Some people look to God when dealing with those or similar issues, or for insight or answers. Personally, I look deeper in my inner mind. That's my style. Some may find this to be blasphemous or a blasphemous thing to think, but I believe that in a way, we are all God. Or conversely, God is in all of us. It's not so much of a separation. Thus, call it my inner self or God, I know where to find my solutions and comfort. I remember that on the Christian commune that my Karen and I happened upon in Tennessee and stayed at for a few days during our 12 driving days, we met people who had been at their wits' end in standard society and couldn't continue the path they were taking. Some people I talked to had been on a dark road of drugs or violent behavior. Ultimately, they looked deep down into their soul and found the answers that hopefully is working for them at the commune. I too must look deep down at times for comfort to my pain and confusion. I too need comfort and answers. I too am trying to figure out what the hell I'm doing or should do.
Many people look to find the answers out there, or perhaps up there. I like to look for and find the answers within myself and credit myself when I come up with my solutions. Others credit the Lord, or their belief in Jesus or God or whatever deity. Maybe it's all variations of the same thing. For is it not said that we are made in the Lord's image? Side note, it's fascinating to reread thoughts I had from a long time ago. As humans, I think most of us have never ending thoughts going through our heads. But how often do we journal these philosophical thoughts just for ourselves? Well, now that I think about it, actually, today, many people actually do so. They do share themselves. Now, sometimes too much of themselves, but on social media. But prior to the 21st century, for most people, their thoughts were like just fleeting. They came, they went, and that was it. Lost forever like a unique aroma drifting by on a breeze. Except for those of us who journaled in one form or another. It's been a great experience for me to reflect on these old thoughts and consider how they evolved with time and experience, or haven't. Anyway, and again, also, thank you for allowing me to share these thoughts with you. That's it for now. Peace.